Alright, so the first thing you're going to notice is that this is a really weird camera angle, but I promise you there's a reason for this that I won't explain here. Also, the lighting is very good right now, so I'm going to get started. Uh, so this is a video disguised with a clickbait title, which is actually just an excuse for me to show off a lot of stuff that I own, and also just to prove that I'm right after this video is over, because I imagine everything that I say here will be actually coming to fruition. But so the point of this video is to timestamp my prediction of the next Nintendo console, which is coming out possibly later this year. I know that sounds really weird, but we'll get started with this, which is an Xbox. And that is proof that the next Nintendo console is going to be a crossover between Xbox and Nintendo. That wasn't proven by the original Xbox. I just wanted the physical evidence for it, because I'm not actually going to edit in images or like any pauses or anything like that. I'm just going to show you objects and then explain how that's related to the next Nintendo console. But before we get started, I have to tell you when this is going to be announced, which is today, possibly. I don't know when I'm uploading this video. It was recorded the night before the Xbox showcase, which is June 11th at like 1 p.m. after the men's final, where Novak Djokovic is going to win his 23rd major. So we're going to get started. This is the closest example to what the next Nintendo console is going to look like. It's the Nintendo 3DS, which before the Switch came out was actually the greatest console that Nintendo has ever made. And if you don't know what a Switch is, I'll explain that in a second. But you'll notice if you never played a DS, it's like there's like a two-screen thing going on here, and it like claps, and it can fit in your pocket like, a phone or something. But, think of that type of shape when you think of the next Nintendo console, because it is going to be a DS. I don't know if they're going to use DS branding. I don't know if they're going to use Microsoft branding. But it will be basically a DS. I don't have a Pixel Fold. I wish I did. I do have a Pixel phone. And they recently made, something that kind of looked like this. A fold phone that kind of looked, essentially functioned like one of these. So you could, put it in your pocket and stuff and take it with you on the train or wherever you're going. But that is the best time actually to read, is when you're going somewhere, or where, I don't know. I guess the point of reading is that you're reading something and not wanting to be wherever you're at in the moment. So you're just reading, I guess. I don't know. I don't actually know the point of reading. But it will look like a DS. And it will have some cool games like the ones I'm about to show you. Actually, the first one is Shin Megami Tensei Strange Journey Redux, a fantastic game. This is the 30th anniversary of Shin Megami Tensei, which also might be pronounced differently. I'm not exactly sure how it's pronounced. But it is one of the greatest game series ever, and it's going to be in today's Xbox showcase, because they're going to port Shin Megami Tensei 4, the second part of the Shin Megami Tensei 4 duology, which is Shin Megami Tensei Apocalypse. And then they're also going to announce the current gen port of Shin Megami Tensei 5, which originally came out on a Switch, which, if you don't know what the Nintendo Switch is, I will tell you in a second. But first I have to explain Shin Megami Tensei 5, which was on the Switch, but it didn't really run the best. But now they're going to, put it on PlayStation and Xbox. It's going to look a lot better. But it's also going to be on Nintendo's next console, which is going to be looking a little bit like a Pixel Fold. So you're able to play like on a phone. That's my dog Reggie. He's actually around here somewhere. But you can use the touch buttons on the phone, and that's like your controller. I'm not going to bring it up now. You can Google it if you don't know what that is. But that's because the next Nintendo console is not going to have a controller necessarily. You can use the touchpad as your controller, and that's good for games such as Detective Pikachu. Did you remember that they announced at a Nintendo Direct that Detective Pikachu 2 was coming out, and you never heard anything about it since? That's because they're waiting for it to be a launch title with their next Nintendo console. And you'll be able to like point and like pinpoint detective stuff, like you did with the stylus back in the day on Detective Pikachu 1, which is a pretty good game. I didn't actually finish it. But that's because Detective Pikachu 2 is going to be a launch title for the next Nintendo console. The Fire Emblem Radiant duology that can contain Fire Emblem Path of Radiance and Radiant Dawn, 2 games that I haven't played, but which I own and I very much would like to play. The selling point of Radiant Dawn was that you could put a GameCube memory card into the Wii and it would carry over your progress. And that was really cool. But games like that, where it's like you could theoretically hook up a Wii controller to like a tabletop platform that would be like at this angle, like a Microsoft Surface, because you can lean back the kickstand a lot. Same thing with the Nintendo Switch, which I'm going to show you right now. It has like a kickstand option, so you can rest it on a table and then just touch it like this. I'll actually show you an example with a visual novel that you can actually just read with the touch control. Again, this is not being edited, so this is being uploaded as is. So this is Digimon Survive. This is a visual novel that came out last year. And this is some guy talking about his dad or something. I don't know. I stopped playing at this point. But you could advance it just by touching it. That was really kind of cool if like you just wanted to hold the screen in your hand. Like you didn't want to hold the whole Joy-Con system and everything. And that would be kind of like what the next Nintendo console is that you can kind of just like hold it and then flip it back. Flip it back like a kind of a 2-screen thing. And then that's when you'll be able to like slide in Joy-Con things like that. I don't know if they're going to have like a shell or something like that, but you'll be able to buy controllers and they're kind of just like shell docks and you kind of just slide them in there. You can also, with the kickstand, rest it on a table and plug a controller into it. Which, Nintendo has been making like wire controllers for forever. So you could theoretically plug this in with like a USB-C cable or something to the side of it, and then I don't know if you've seen like Hyperkin has made like the Duke wire controllers that were the original Xbox controller back in the day, but you could like plug that in to the next Nintendo console that's being announced at Nintendo Live, which is an event in Seattle that's coming out like in September or something. But then you could play visual novels like Witch on the Holy Night, Paper Mario, everybody's been waiting for one of those, or the ports of the old ones. You can play RPGs like Morrowind, or potentially the new Elder Scrolls 6, which will be playable on it exclusively on cloud streaming, because the next Nintendo console is going to be having Game Pass streaming capabilities, which is already a thing on mobile phones and PCs and stuff. You can actually stream games on an Xbox console as well, even an Xbox One console, which I've never tried, but it sounds terrible. The new Persona that got leaked, Persona 5 Tactia, it's like this but with a T. That's coming out in November, so that makes me think that November is potentially when the Sony handheld is coming out. I think it's going to come out the same week as the next Nintendo console, which has already been confirmed that Nintendo is buying a bunch of new LCD screens from a direct manufacturer. So this will not be an OLED product, which is very unfortunate, but it's still going to be like essentially a new DS. So I'm really not complaining because the DS is amazing. I've been playing this game called Metroid Prime Hunters. surprisingly is really good. And also just think of all the Metroid Primes that you could play on the next Nintendo console potentially. Which back to the controller thing, to play a Wii game, you can actually just plug in the nunchuck into it. There might be like a converter or something, or they might make new nunchucks. But you can be able to just like plug that into it, and like on a tabletop, you can swing it like that, and it'll be, zero lag. It would be a perfect Wii controller. And you got to remember that back in the day, when famous games like Ball were out, Nintendo was really thinking about gaming on the go, and the cloud streaming capabilities and the touchscreen and the ability for it to fit in your pocket would really help with that. Think of the GameCube games you could potentially play on it. Potentially the Game Boy games you could play on it, like Advance Wars. I have a list actually. I'll get through these. More Fire Emblem, great titles all time that everybody should play. Newer titles like the Outer Worlds potentially. Already came out on the Switch. Might as well try to get the second one to come out on Nintendo console too. Like 360 era games like Mass Effect. Nothing too crazy. You're not going to have like graphical perfection. Potentially Halo, if they ever get around to making touch controls for Halo, like Call of Duty Mobile. I'm just showing that the Outer Worlds came out, and I own 2 copies for some reason. And also, like, you can play Gears 5 with touch controls as well, and also a lot of the rare games like GoldenEye and Perfect Dark and Banjo-Kazooie. So that could potentially be played on the next Nintendo console. And I think this is going to be teased at the Xbox showcase. Potentially the Trails series. They could put the Trails from the Sky. Having a new localized port that you could just, read at your leisure on the go. Euden Chronicles, I don't know if I'm mispronouncing that, but the sequel's coming out, and they'll be waiting to announce that with the launching with the new Nintendo console. All these games are probably also going to come out on PlayStation if you'd rather play it on the PlayStation handheld, like I'm probably going to. But Bayonetta, I don't know if you guys recall, but the first 2 Bayonettas, they were on the Wii U, so you could also play them with touch controls, and it was really weird. But that's the thing they could potentially do. The Ori series, which is fantastic. Ori has copies on the Switch and everything like that. And yeah, that's basically it. So all that's coming true. I'm just recording this to prove it.